All right, we're doing good. We're going to jump into removing teeth, and then we're going to get into the, we'll finish this section a little bit more, and then we'll go maybe quick bathroom break, and then we'll jump in to our first case on the computer. So let's talk about the 3 ways that we can edit a model. And this is what we have to learn how to do to remove a tooth that we're going to do an immediate implant on. We got to digitally extract. So there's 3 ways to do it. So this first one is in Blue Sky, and it's called the cut function. And it's under the surfaces panel. So this right here it says STL surfaces. It's kind of hard to read, but your surfaces panel is going to show all your different STLs right here inside of the scene. And then down in here you have these 3 buttons here called cut and cut all. So what cut does is basically just gives you a lasso, and you can just go lasso around an area. It's going to cut off that area on whatever STL is selected. So right now we only have 1 STL in the scene, but if we had 10 STLs, make sure that you have the one selected, then hit cut, then go lasso. Now remember this, you're going to lasso an area and the cut function is going to stay highlighted. Turn it off. I'm going to show that here in a video in a second, but just keep that in mind. Cut all would be if you had like multiple STLs in the scene and you hit cut all, every STL that's shown up, when you lasso, it's going to cut through all of them at once. So sometimes there's a reason for that, but generally you're just cutting one object. But watch closely this video. So I'm going to click cut. I'm going to lasso around an area. I'm going to let go. It cut it, and it's always going to give you this little error. And then notice how I turned cut off. And now I can roll around and see that it cut the ear off. The reason it gave that error is because I bet you right here there's a little hole. It's really tough to see on this screen. But sometimes it's going to go cut, and it'll like leave a tiny hole in the model somewhere. And that's why that error popped up. It's saying it didn't cut all the way through. So sometimes you got to recognize that and go look at your model, because if there's a tiny little hole in the mesh, sometimes that can become a problem. Sometimes it's no big deal. Like in here, it probably wouldn't be a big deal, but just keep that in mind. The next function is under the model editing module, and then the model editing panel. So up in the top right, you're going to have your modules. Make sure you're model editing. Your model editing panel has got all these different tools that you can go and manipulate your model. So you can select part of the model. You can cut part of the model. You can find holes. You could say close all the holes in the model. Or you could say, I want to select holes manually and click just a couple holes and close those. You got the smooth brush. So let's just say you have a rough, bumpy area in your model. You can go and smooth it. The Blue Sky model editing has got these basic functions. They're not super powerful. If you've ever messed with it, like you're doing the smooth tool and it's just like, it's really slow. It's not super great. That's why some guys like to move over to Mesh Mixer. But this is great for just simple editing functions. So what we're going to do here is use the selection brush. So we're going to select an area. Then we're going to say cut that selected area. So cut it out. And then you're going to be left with a hole in the model. And then you're going to go and close that hole. So I'm going to show you a video here. And just kind of watch what I'm doing here on this. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit selection. And then I'm going to go and just select a little hole in the model. So watch how I do kind of an outside hole. And then I'm going to hit cut it. And then it leaves a little island. And now I can double click that island and cut that. And then I'm going to hit select holes manually, select the hole, and then close the selected hole. So how I do this with teeth, and we'll do this on the screen, is I would use my selection brush and I'd paint a perimeter around the tooth. From the buccal margin in proximal, I roll around to the lingual margin, and I'd make a border around the tooth, and then I'd delete, or I hit cut out that selected area. And then it leaves like that island of the tooth in the middle, double click it, cut that out. Now you got your hole, then go close the hole. And then the last thing would be on Mesh Mixer. So again, this is just a preview of Mesh Mixer like that other software. You can lasso an area, it'll select it, and then you can just tap delete with your keyboard. and it'll leave a hole there. And then Mesh Mixer has this function called Inspector, and it'll show you all the holes in the model. So this is saying there's a blue hole in the base. If I click that, it'll close it. If I click that button, it'll close the ear. And so that was, a quick preview of like Mesh Mixer. It's a third-party kind of Swiss Army knife model editing program where you can, you can cut off objects, you can smooth, shrink, inflate. It's like Paintbrush for 3D modeling, but it comes with, just a learning curve. It takes a long time to figure out the different functions. But something to just keep in the back of your mind that as you're going through digital dentistry, that it's an important function feature down the road.